Hey guys, today's book is Radiant Child, the story of young artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, written and illustrated by Javaka Steptoe. He's an artist. This is actually a picture of what Jean-Michel Basquiat looked like as an adult. So let's start the book. I actually met him in New York when I was living in New York and going to school. He used to play basketball on the playground near where my dormitory was. Javaka Steptoe, Radiant Child, the story of young artist Jean-Michel Basquiat. Somewhere in Brooklyn, between hearts that thump double dutch and hopscotch, and salty mouths that slurp sweet ice, a little boy dreams of being a famous artist. In Brooklyn, they sold ice on the street. Sometimes they call it Italian ice, like Slurpees or snow cones. In his house, you can tell the serious artist dwells, as he sits at a table with pencils scattered everywhere. Sounds like my class with colored pencils and markers and crayons all over the floor. Jean-Michel draws from morning until night with a serious face amid a storm of papers. He refuses to sleep until he has created a masterpiece. At night, images enchant Jean-Michel's mind. During his sleep, I guess he's dreaming. And he wakes from his dreams to add one more line. His drawings are not neat or clean, nor does he color inside the lines. They are sloppy, ugly, and sometimes weird, but somehow still beautiful. His art comes from his mother, Matilda, a Puerto Rican woman who designs and sews and cooks and cleans and makes the house look like a stylish magazine. But most important, she lies on the floor and draws with Jean-Michel on his father's old work papers. It's cool that they work together and they do projects together. From her, he learns that art is not only in the poetry books she reads to him, or in the theaters and museums they visit. Art is the street games of little children, in our style and the words that we speak. It is how the messy patchwork of the city creates new meaning for ordinary things. I love the way those cars are drawn on there and painted in primary colors, red, blue, and red. This drawing is kind of funny because you have to turn to see it the right way. While visiting the museums, they look at his favorite works of art. This is a painting called Guernica. It's by Pablo Picasso, and when he was a little boy, it was in the New York Museum of Modern Art, and now it moved to Spain because Pablo Picasso was from Spain, and it's in the Reina Sofia Museum in Madrid. They have a whole room just for this painting. Reading the story behind each artist, reading the story behind each work, this is how Jean-Michel learns what it means to be a famous artist. And this painting was about the pain and suffering. If you can see, like all of the faces and the arms up in there. Pain and suffering during the Spanish Civil War. It's a really hard time in Spain. Back at home, he creates art on the floor as his father, Gerard, plays jazz records. Mama Matilda cooks arroz con pollo. I love arroz con pollo. And calls Jean-Michel mi amor. The energy and life of the city can be felt in each line of his drawings. His apartment looks really cool. I wonder if it really looked like that. Sorry about the sound of the pages. As time goes by, Jean-Michel learns that art has a healing power. After a car accident, he is scared and confused. Mathilde gives him a book to calm his fears. It's actually Gray's Anatomy, the book that she gave him, and it has all pictures of inside the body. She wanted him to learn about what was happening inside his body as he healed from his accident. It is filled with pictures of bones and skulls and other body parts. Jean-Michel draws from it until he knows it all by heart. He is no longer afraid. That would kind of make me a little bit more afraid. See if you can see kind of see it says Gray's Anatomy on the cover of the book. It's a famous book that doctors used to use to learn about the bodies. Back at home, Jean-Michel's body heals, but his heart breaks. His mother's mind is not well, and the family breaks. She no longer lies on the floor and draws with Jean-Michel, but sits by the window singing only to birds. Jean-Michel is confused and filled with a terrible blues when Matilda can no longer live at home. That's sad. He tries drawing the terrible out of his blues, but things are not the same. There's a broken heart. I love the way these illustrations are done on wood. See, this painting, the illustration for the book, painted on wood. You can kind of see like that's a piece of trim from a building. And you see all the lines, the seams from between the wood. As Jean-Michel grows older, he visits his mother when he can, always bringing his artwork to show, telling her that one day it will be in a museum, when I am a famous artist. A teenager now, Jean-Michel decides, Papa, I will be very, very famous one day, with a sly look and a twinkle in his eye. Jean-Michel leaves Brooklyn for New York City, the Lower East Side, a concrete jungle where only the tough survive. During the day, dressed in a green jumpsuit splattered with paint, Jean-Michel stays with friends, sleeping on couches and floors, leaving a barrage of collages and poem-like papers everywhere he goes. Look at all the paint. Like, it looks like he's like drawing on the walls and writing on the walls. But see how the illustrations are done on wood? Really, really cool. You could tell that Javaka Steptoe is an artist too, and appreciates Jean-Michel Basquiat's art. Did I read that page? Yeah. At night, Jean-Michel spray paints the walls downtown with poems and drawings that catch the eye of artists, gallery goers, and passers-by. Under his art, he signs the name Samu instead of Jean-Michel. Everyone wants to know, who is Samu? See, he started out by doing graffiti, and that was how a lot of people got famous in New York. We learned about Keith Haring in Art with Miss Terry, and Keith Haring was similar. He did graffiti all over the city until people started wanting it in museums and galleries. Samu moves from street corners to art gallery walls with powerful color composition and line, collaging and painting on anything he can find, kind of like the artist here. His art is still not neat or clean and definitely not inside the lines, but somehow still beautiful. With his magical charm, Jean-Michel draws a crowd, but when it's time to work, he prefers to be alone with the radio and TV on full blast. I actually like to sleep with the TV on full blast, but don't tell anybody. Now in expensive suits splattered with paint, he flips through stacks of magazines and open books and paints into the night, and sometimes for days at a time, while sounds and images jump into his head. The cool studio, just art all over, paint and supplies. Jean-Michel, an artist among artists, never doubts one line, creating from a soundtrack that is all his own. Abuelita, abuelita, abuelita. People describe him as radiant, wild, and a genius child. But in his heart, he is king. So he draws crowns for himself and others he admires. I love that we did those in Art with Miss Terry too. A grown man now, with the art world at his hands, Jean-Michel still visits his mother when he can. It's important to be close to your family, right? And at his most important shows, above all the critics, fans, and artists he admires, the place of honor is his mother's, a queen on a throne. He is now a famous artist.